I guess we're talking about words. You can just make them up.
Yeah. I mean, nowadays you can. There's cap, no cap. You got that one? You know that one?
Capitalized?
No, cap is like kind of is capitalized, but like the kids say like no cap. Like it's kind of like the like for sure. Like so like if you were to tell me you had $1 million and I said cap, it's basically like me saying bullshit. And then me saying no cap is like, yeah, for sure, like locking
What
in.
does cap stand for then?
Great question. Ask the youth of America nowadays or the world.
I have more questions.
Yeah.
I now have more questions than I have answers.
I know. Words are crazy. But I mean, even we look at them even more than just the weird language of youth that make the youth, what the youth make nowadays.
The youths.
We look at words and the influence that they have just on the overall being. And that's what we're going to talk about today, because words matter and words are powerful. And so that's what we're going to talk about here with Cody. So Cody, where are we starting today overall?
First, nice segue.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Wasn't that pretty good? That's pretty good.
It's like you planned it.
I know, right?
Second, and more importantly, we'll talk about the power of words.
Yeah.
The words that we use. We are going to discuss some of the, we are going to discuss some pillars of language known as conflict language, architect language. Okay, so we've established words have power.
Absolutely.
You know, why is this important in this context, health, fitness? Really, you are your greatest coach. You know, if you're coming to the gym 5 hours a week, you're getting exposed to 5 hours of coaching. There are 168 hours in the week. So this gives you 163 other hours where the voice that is telling you what you, air quote, should be doing, are not doing well, whose fault it is, that voice is magnified for 20 times longer than you're receiving positive feedback in an environment like the gym. So what we want to look at is how can we take those words, those stories, and have them work for us rather than against us? Because if they are not working for you, they are very likely working against you.
Right. Absolutely. And what's really cool about this is Cody and I had a conversation over the weekend about this topic, and just kind of dabbling back and forth with ideas. And we talked about vegetables. And I kid you not, we did a simple little game, and I ate vegetables yesterday, and I plan on eating vegetables today. So that's a long story. I'm not going to get to in detail, but just know that they revolved around like altering my words and my thought process and everything like that. And now I'm eating vegetables this week. So
yeah, we went through a should detox.
Yeah, exactly. And now I am. So it's pretty sweet.
Power of words.
Absolutely. Beautiful. So that starts to take us into our overall topic then. So where are we starting with this idea of words? Are they powerful? They matter. There's obviously a first stop. There's going to be lots of stops to go through here. So what's our first topic and discussion?
We will start with what I believe the flow to be.
Okay.
All right. So I used to believe that this was a linear path. It was words create stories, stories influence beliefs, beliefs shape behaviors, and our behaviors ultimately cultivate our identity.
Right.
I used to believe this was a words lead to stories, lead to beliefs, lead to behaviors, lead to identity, straight line. Over time, right, and experience and just observing,
Yeah.
I see this as a cyclical pattern more now. So not only do the words lead to identity, but in piece and part, the identity that we cultivate leads to the words that we choose. It changes our lexicon.
Yeah.
Right. Chooses the word. You know, CrossFit is a great example. There's words that exist in the CrossFit affiliate that never existed with that prevalence before. Right.
Yeah.
Imam, AMRAP, even when you said the girls, right?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Oh, yeah. So Sally, Sandy,
Yeah.
and Barbara, now those are like, those trigger experiences.
PTSD.
Sure.
But yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, they can, right? So now those words are attached to stories, which good, bad, indifferent, right? Mm-hmm. They influence the type of person that you believe that you are. And then they can reaffirm those stories. Political ideologies is a great example of this as well, right? the ideology that you subscribe to in shape and part dictates the lexicon, the words that you're going to use.
Okay.
So this is why I now believe that it's a cyclical thing. And this is for better and for worse. Right? It can be positive, it can be negative, a little bit of both. So one of the ways that we're going to start with the words, and then we'll work out.
All right, perfect.
All right. So the ground floor, starting with the words. One of the easiest ways that we can do this is we're going to play a game. So James has a pen and a pencil. Everyone else listening, if you can, right now, if you're in a safe spot, obviously not while you're driving, grab a pen, grab a pencil, pause this, do whatever you need to do. Okay, pen, piece of paper. We're going to play a game called the one-word game. So James, what I would like you to do is I would like you to write this sentence. How can I ever get over this?
Okay.
I've written the sentence. Now, please read that sentence out loud.
How can I ever get over this?
Okay. What's the mental imagery, the emotion? What comes up for you when you read that sentence?
I feel like my heart rate's starting to escalate a little bit, to be honest with you. I don't know if that's a bad thing or a good thing, but no, my heart rate, I do feel like anxious, very anxious. I feel anxious. I feel blockage. I see very, very big mountainous things blocking my way right now.
Okay. Scale of 1 to 10, 1 being small, 10 being huge. How big is this?
Oh, this feels like an 8.
All right. So how can I ever get over this? Feels blockage, heart rate elevated. It's an 8 out of 10. All right. We're going to rewrite this sentence. All I want you to do is take out the word ever. Please read that statement out loud.
How can I get over this?
How can I get over this? What comes up for you when you read that out loud? Any difference?
Yeah, honestly, as I was writing it, my stomach almost like dropped back down to normal. So when I originally wrote it, was saying it, my stomach was up in my throat, and now it started to settle a little bit. I don't feel the sensation of my jugular pounding anymore, so that's always a good thing. So it wasn't bad. But yeah, I just feel much more settled. I feel optimistic.
Awesome. Scale of 1 to 10, 1 being small, 10 being huge.
We're flowing around the 4 to 5.
Okay. So that optimism is a 4 or a 5?
Oh, wait, the optimism?
Yeah.
Optimism now is like 6, 7. We're feeling good.
All right. So the optimism is a 6 or a 7, but that previous feeling of the anxiety, the worry, goes down to the 4 or 5.
Yes.
Great. So we cut that in half and added good, right? The optimistic side.
Yeah.
So the reason that this is called the one word game is we changed one word.
Yeah.
We took out the word ever. So most people who play this game have the similar experience that you just had. When I write down how can I ever get over this, it feels huge and daunting. Like I see people slumping the shoulders.
Yeah.
And you can just see like how can I ever get over this? What that word ever does is it focuses us, it trains our attention, right? It focuses us on all of the things that would be in the way to solving the problem.
Yeah, that was like, I had like flashbacks, like, okay, this is in my way, this is the issue. I can't like all the things that are currently like there or issues in my like current domain are just like pop in my head like, oh shit.
Yeah. So that word ever is called a presupposition. So it presupposes all of the conflicts, the issues that you may have when you're trying to solve. By taking that word out, you snapped into optimistic mode, problem solving mode. Like you saw things that were not available to you with that single word.
Yeah. That thing was huge. Ever was huge in that situation.
Yeah. This is a micro example of the power of the words that we use.
Yeah.
So we know that words affect 4 things, 4 key areas. Right? They affect our imagination. Example right there, right? How can I ever get over this? It's big. It's right in my face, right? I can see all of the problems, right? It affects our emotions, right? So physically, you notice that elevated heart rate, a little bit of anxiety,
Yeah.
maybe fear, sadness, any emotion tied with that word. Breath. So most typically the breathing goes from what's called parasympathetic to sympathetic. The difference is sympathetic breaths will be what we call high and tight. Typically we're breathing up into the chest. It's very short and choppy. Okay. The parasympathetic is the rest and digest system. So sympathetic is your fight, flight, or freeze. Pulls the blood in from the extremities, puts it towards the core, dilates the pupils. It says, all right, I need to have more visual acuity. I need to either fight this bear or run. Your system, the human system, does not understand the difference between there's a bear and there's a story running around in my head that is causing me stress. It treats stress the same way. Stress is stress is stress.
Yeah.
Psychological, emotional, physiological. The same stress that you get in a workout, which is physiological stress, is this. Your body will try to adapt and deal with that stress in the same way as a story running around in your head about how you're not good enough that you've been carrying for 20 years.
Okay.
You're going to breathe high and tight, breathe up into the chest.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Where what we look for is that parasympathetic breath, which is what we call low and slow. So low being we want to breathe down into the abdomen. Now, no, you don't have lungs in your abdomen. What you're trying to do is take full deep breaths down, push the diaphragm down, and you want to be slower on the exhale. So versus right, the hyperventilative.
Like, yeah, panic mode, passing out mode. Yeah.
Well, think about, I had this example with somebody that I was working with just last week. We were, she was retelling a story about, her spouse almost hit a deer with their car. And the first thing that she did was go,
oh, yeah.
That's the sympathetic response. That is the story in your head taking over your breath. How do you imagine she reacted to that situation?
Oh, yeah.
Her next question was, what the F?
Yeah.
So it's called an amygdala hijack when that happens, right? The amygdala is the lizard part of the brain. The babies have it, right? It's the I need food, I need shelter, I need security, safety. It shuts off. When that happens, it shuts off the prefrontal cortex, the thinking part of the brain, the part of the brain that doesn't develop until we're 25. Right? So you just got yours.
I know, I'm
Congratulations.
In my prime, baby. I'm in my prime.
But what that does is it shuts off the thinking about all of the options and turns on the make a decision part.
Yeah, just get down, ready to go.
It's the fight or flight. It's the sympathetic, parasympathetic, right? It's the I gotta fight this bear, I gotta run. It's not, I wonder what I'm gonna have for dinner later.
Fair enough.
Okay. So it affects the breath. The last thing that it affects is the physiology or the posture. So high school is a great example of this, right? You can walk into any high school and you can tell what kid's having a good day and what kid's having a bad day or more accurately, what story's going through their head by their posture.
Yeah. I even have my CrossFit kids class. There's kids I can tell, I'm like, you didn't have a good day at school today, did you?
Yeah.
You seem kind of rough. I'm like,
all of those things, those four things, our imagination, our emotions, our breath, our posture, they're tied to the stories that run around in our head. The stories affect us for better and for worse.
Right.
So what those stories really do is they influence something called our RAS, our reticular activating system. Really easy example of this, your car, right? So when you got that new car, the days, weeks, the day leading up to it, how frequently did you see that car?
I didn't know the brand or make of my car existed.
What kind of car do you have?
I have a Chevy Cruze.
Chevy
Silver.
Cruze.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So before you bought that car, you didn't even know that was a vehicle that was available to you.
No, didn't even know it existed. Had no clue.
The day of and the days and weeks following owning that car, how many Chevy Cruzes did you see?
Oh, everywhere. Everyone's got a Chevy Cruze now. I swear.
This is a practical example of your reticular activating system. If you and I are driving down the highway from here to Angola and I say, James, don't find a red car. what are you likely going to do?
I'm fine. Every red car there is.
Everyone between here and there, you're not going to see another color because the words that I used influence your reticular activating system. Now that you own that car, the Chevy Cruze, you see that everywhere because there was a switch that was turned on in your RAS that told you to filter for this thing. Why? Because this thing is important. The reticular activating system is not emotional. It doesn't care, really. I mean, negation, acknowledge, it doesn't care. It just wants to make you, your brain wants to make you happy. So it wants to focus on the things that you have told it are important. This car is mine now. It's important to me. I wonder how many of them there actually are. Holy shit, they're everywhere.
Yeah. So now when it comes down to that RAS system, does that actually influence actions as well? So, because for example, believe it or not, yesterday in my class, we were with my kids, we were practicing with PVC pipes for pressing overhead. So I had the PVC pipes laid down on the ground. And I asked them, line up in front of a PVC pipe, and then we're gonna go through the skill. And one of them starts to step on the PVC pipe, and do the balance act, falls and eats it and spills. And I was like, yes, do not step on your PVC pipe. And I kid you not, like 90% of my class started doing it. I said, guys, stop stepping on that PVC pipe and everyone, you can just see them just start trying it. So is that like a similar situation with that RAS system, or is it more so just kids being rambunctious?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Anybody who's a parent out there, I imagine one of the things in the manual that doesn't exist is tell your kids what you want them to do, not what you do not want them to do. Right? I'm 32 years old, and if you tell me don't do something, the first thought that goes through my head is I'm doing that thing. You're not the boss of me. I'm an adult.
Right.
Kids are the same way.
Okay.
The thing that separates adults from children is the prefrontal cortex, the decision-making part of the brain, right? It fully develops by the time that you're around 25 years old. You need it to survive. That's why you're born with that piece of your brain. And also, biologically, that part didn't evolve until later. That's the amygdala is the piece that's always been around. The reticular activating system, the filter, the things that says, all right, here's what's important. It's been with us for a little bit longer because we always needed to know what was that rustling in the bushes?
Oh yeah.
Was it a tiger or was it just the wind? So we needed something to focus our attention. Now we can use words now that we have the capacity as the human species to use language.
Right.
We use words to do the same thing. Hey, don't do that makes you focus on doing that because the cue that I gave you was something called a negation. It told you what not to do. Regardless of whether it told you what not to do or what to do, that's what you heard. That's where your focus was trained.
Okay.
So yes, most likely the reason that the kids all wanted to step on the PVC pipe because you told them not to step on the PVC pipe. Where a better thing would have been, hey, everyone pick your PVC pipes up. Because now, what do we want versus what we don't want?
Right.
Looking at it like goals outside of the gym, right? Or people coming in, getting started. I don't want to be fat. I don't want to be unhealthy. I don't want to feel like shit. Your reticular activating system goes on a seek and find mission. So if you use that sort of language, don't want to be fat, don't want to be unhealthy, don't want to feel like shit, your brain will find more evidence of those things. Why you are fat, why you are unhealthy, and why you feel like shit. It becomes a loop. Again, going back to the words, stories, beliefs, behavior, identity, these things loop. They become a pattern.
Okay. Beautiful. My kids are rambunctious. I'm telling you. But
tell them what you do want them to do.
That's what ended up working. They were all trying. It's like, all right, pick up your PVC pipes. Sure enough, we were on the right track.
Yep.
But all right, beautiful. So perfect. So that kind of leads us then into those pillars. We've already started to briefly touch on some of them. So, but with this whole concept of words, there's pillars that go behind everything, so we can start diving into that. And so go ahead and lead us into that first pillar or that first stop that we're going to start talking about.
Yeah, so to take one small step back, there's two categories of language that we focus on. There is what's called conflict language. You can think of this like survival language, and then there is architect language or the language of creation. So what conflict language does is conflict language is language that escalates and dramatizes conflict through distorting focus, lack of clarity, and or confusion.
Okay.
So it turns the volume up on drama. Conflict language. Easy way to remember it, turns the volume up internally on drama.
Okay.
Conflict language as it relates to athletes, right, specifically creates domination and separation. So people who come into the gym, we call athletes.
Right.
We do that because we're trying to cultivate the identity of an athlete. We know that athletes train, they don't exercise. They fuel and eat well, they don't diet. So we want to use words very specifically to start to influence our identity. We want to be in harmony. An athlete is in harmony with their body, and they're in alignment rather than dominating and separating. Conflict language has three pillars, like you said.
Okay.
There are three subcategories of conflict language. There are soft talk, negations, and projections. Now, the other side of this is the architect language, the language of creation. Each of these has a flip side of the coin. So for soft talk, there is solid talk. For negations, there are affirmations. And for projections, there are reflections. We'll start with the easiest to understand first and the easiest to start to train and change, which would be soft talk.
Okay.
So what soft talk is the excessive use of softening words to create ambiguity, uncertainty, and avoidance about a particular concept or choice. Here's the example. I would like to start going to the gym more frequently one day.
Oh, would you?
That's universally the response.
Right.
Right? I would like to start going to the gym more frequently one day.
Yeah, it's not very convincing.
No. Why it is unconvincing is because it is full of soft talk. So soft talk keywords are going to be like, maybe, one day, perhaps, possibly, probably, kind of, sort of, would like to, think, guess, hopefully, try, could, should, soon, and might. Not a comprehensive list. That's most of them, though.
Oh, absolutely.
So I would like to start coming to the gym more frequently one day. Has two pieces of soft talk in there. The would like to and one day. What those words do is they distort the focus. They create ambiguity and uncertainty because by using them, I'm not really committing to anything.
Yeah. That's a good way to phrase it. I didn't think about it that way because it keeps you from like going full in. It's like,
exactly.
Maybe.
Yeah. That's why many people use it and why we see it so frequently is it creates this safety net for when we don't follow through on the things that we know we should do. We don't have to beat ourselves up about it, or we choose not to beat ourselves because, well, I didn't really commit to it anyway. I said I would like to one day. I didn't say I was going to on Thursday.
Like I should stretch like 3 to 4 times a week after I work out, but
I should drink more water.
Right.
I should eat healthier.
Yeah.
Right. And people going back to the should detox, people do what Tony Robbins calls shoulding all over themselves.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things that you should do. But by using soft talk, we create that ambiguity and uncertainty. We're not tied to anything. You know, if you're a young guy trying to get a date with a girl, I dare you walk up to her and be like, hey, would you hopefully like to maybe sort of one day go on a date?
Yeah, man, that's not going to happen.
Absolutely not. How do you think that's going to go? It's not going well.
She's going to be like, I have something planned that day.
Yeah, I got a thing right now, actually. I'm late for a thing.
Yeah.
Where the flip side of that, the nice thing about soft talk is why it's so easy is the way to translate it or to change that sentence to solid talk is to remove the soft talk. So rather than I would like to start going to the gym more frequently one day, I will start going to the gym on Thursday, 3 times a week. Bam. So we have specificity. We have timelines. There's not like ethereal kind of floating out here in space. It's, I will do this. I've made a commitment and I'm going to start on Thursday. And my objective is to do this 3 days a week. Mm-hmm. If we're, going back to the kid example, if you're like, I would like you to go clean up your room, or I would like you to stop doing that. You would like me to do that?
Oh, okay.
Sweet. Versus go clean your room. Please stop doing that. One of the issues that people have with switching from soft talk to solid talk is they might feel like a jerk.
Yeah, it comes off more
It can
aggressive.
come off aggressive, exactly.
Yeah.
Because soft talk is a social nicety, right? When we say, hey, would you guys maybe like to go out to dinner this weekend? We're providing them with options. We feel as if we're providing the other party with options, rather than being too pushy. What that does, though, is it creates all that uncertainty. Well, do they really want me to go out to dinner with them? Is it something that, do I really have the space in my schedule? Versus me saying, hey, we're going to dinner on Thursday at 8 p.m. Can you join us? Solid talk.
Yeah.
We can get an accurate answer. Beautiful. So we change that. Now, how do we do it appropriately? If we feel like we're being a jerk about it, add a smile and say please. So rather than, would you like to go clean your room? Go clean your room, please.
Yeah.
Bam. We've solved soft talk. It's so approachable because you'll see this coming up. You'll see it in the things that you read, the things that you write, right? Your emails, your text messages.
Oh yeah, I see it everywhere now. It's like the RAS system. I see it everywhere.
It's a pattern.
Yeah.
Right? How do we change the patterns that we use? We start with interruption. Mm-hmm. Awareness is the first step of that. So soft talk, check. We take soft talk, we remove the softening words. We're going to do something at the very end of this that will help magnify this for you.
Yeah.
Okay. Next, one that's a little bit more difficult and as deadly is called negations. So negations focus us on the outcomes we do not want, the things that we do not want. The flip side of that coin is an affirmation, which focuses us and trains us on what we do want. Negation setup words are things like can't, isn't, am not, are not, won't, shouldn't, couldn't. Okay, so any contraction that you notice in there, or things with the word not. I shouldn't eat this. Focuses me on what I should not be doing.
Yeah.
Right. So should is an interesting one we'll get to later because it's also called pressure language.
Okay.
But I can't do this.
Yeah.
Right? I used to tell people in the gym, there's only one 4-letter word that we don't allow, and it's the word can't.
Yeah.
So I can't do this, whatever the thing is. What that's going to do is it's going to train your brain to find all of the evidence for why you cannot be successful doing this thing. It's too difficult. It's too much time. It's too much money. It's too much energy. I don't have the support that I need, whatever. Versus I can do this, right? I can't believe it. I can't believe this happened to me. Did it happen?
Yeah. So then
you better believe it.
That's exactly. That's a funny one. I never even thought about that until you just said that. But that's one that you get. I can't believe this happened. Well, it did. So
really, you can't, because it did happen.
You got to believe it.
Yeah. So negations, they focus us on what we don't want. Mm-hmm. If you think about someone in your life that's a chronic worrier.
Oh yeah.
It's likely that their language is full of negations. They focus on what they're not, what they don't have, what they don't want, what they shouldn't be doing. Okay. So pay attention. You can pay attention to that, and you know somebody that everybody just imagined someone when I said the word chronic worrier. Listen to their language, the way that they're speaking about things. It's highly likely that they're using a lot of negations.
They're focused on the stuff they can't do or
can't do, shouldn't do, don't want to do. Right? Well, I don't want to feel worried. You're going to find more worry. Okay. Negations. Bam. The last one, and what I will say, the most venomous one. And the reason it is the most venomous and the most deadly is because out of all three, this takes most of your power away. It also corrupts relationships with others. So this is called a projection. It's got a nickname called a blame thrower.
I like it. Not a flamethrower, a blame thrower.
A blame thrower.
I like it.
So projections, they are words that assign exclusive responsibility for who you are, who you have to be, what you think, to someone or something outside of yourself. Okay, so I am this way because of my mother. He did that to me. It is also a projection word, right? It hurt me. So it assigns responsibility, something outside of ourselves. Okay, these are projections. The flip side of this coin is a reflection. So we take those it, he, she, anybody's name. Those are the projection setup words. And or them, right? Them is another nasty one. Oh. They don't understand me.
Yeah.
Right? Who's they? Right? And when we use they don't understand me or they were mean to me, we make it really big.
Yeah. The blame's just all over the place.
It's everybody, right? Because who's they?
Right.
They is everybody. So we take that, we remove the projection setup word and we replace it with a reflection. Okay. So I am this way because of me versus I am this way because of my mother. He did that to me, or I did that to me, or he did that to himself. They were mean to me. I was mean to me. They were mean to themselves. Those are two different ways that we can take projection statements and create what are called reflections, where we take back power, we take back authority, we take back ownership.
And those are big ones. Those are ones I like to practice daily, just because there's times like you fall in the loop. Like you said, it's a cylinder, or it's a circle based thing. It's like There's times where I might have fixed it, but there's times where I come back to it and I get that mentality. I'm like, no. Step back and I go like, okay, I did this to myself, or I'm doing it. Like, I take that back. I take the ownership, so I'm not sitting there pointing fingers at someone, making them the bad guy. So then, because it gets toxic. Like, whether it starts, because it can build and get to the point where it does make turmoil in the relationships. So it's very good to step back and realize that one. It's very powerful.
Yeah, my boss makes my job difficult. That's a really great example of the story that creates. Is that your boss wakes up in the morning and the first thought that runs through his or her head is, how can I make James's day worse? They wake up, they think about it on their way into work. They're trying to come up with all of these ways to make your day more difficult. That's the only thing that's on their mind, and that's their sole purpose in life. But my boss makes my day more difficult creates that story that your boss goes out of his or her way to present obstacles and challenges to you. Accurate or inaccurate?
Most times inaccurate.
Inaccurate.
Yeah.
Most of the time, sure. Is there aspects of day or life that it could make more difficult for you?
Yeah.
But it's highly unlikely that even though they ask you to do things that make your day more difficult, their sole objective is just to make your day more difficult.
Right.
But that's the story that gets created in our imaginations, right? Going back to what do the words influence? They influence imagination being a part of it. So understanding that, right? It's a blame thrower. So I make my day more difficult. Oh shit. Yeah, I do.
So and that's where like I like the idea, like you said, takes ownership. So now you're like, okay, I make my day more difficult. How can I make that better?
Yep. there's something you can do about it, right? Because if my day is the exclusive responsibility, the quality of my day rather is the responsibility of someone else, my boss, my spouse, my kids, whoever, what do I have to do about it?
Right.
Nothing. What can I do about it? Nothing. You have no ownership in that scenario. A great one that applies to health and fitness is, I would like to come to I would come to the gym more frequently if only my kid's schedule wasn't so busy. Minus the negations and the soft talk in there.
Right.
What you are doing by, I would like to make my life, you're essentially saying I would like to make my life better if only my damn kids weren't so busy. So over time, what kind of story is that going to create? I can't be the best version of me. I can't be healthy. I can't take care of myself, and it's all because of my damn kids. How is that going to manifest itself in the relationship?
Right. And that's not going to be good. Your blame is on the kids. It's like you're going to take your frustrations out on the kids. You're going to do whatever to the kids or whatever it is.
Consciously or consciously or unconsciously, right? It's going to be, you are likely going to offload things onto them and make things their fault that are not their fault.
Yeah.
Because the story running around in your head is you can't be as happy as you could be because they're in the way. It makes a you versus me sort of relationship.
Yeah, that's big.
So that's projections and reflections.
Okay.
Anytime that you're using him, they, it, someone's name, you are likely creating a projection statement.
Okay.
There's two other that don't fit quite as neatly, but they're both, they don't have easy flips.
Okay.
But they are both, and they are both conflict language. It's called binary language. So binary language would be the always, never, only. Like, you always do this to me. You never listen to me. You only come to the gym on Wednesdays.
Yeah. Okay.
Whatever. The reason that this is dangerous language and it's conflict language is that it's inaccurate. Most of the time it's inaccurate. If I say that you never listen to me, is that accurate?
No, it's far from inaccurate. I'm listening to you right now.
Exactly. Right? But the story in my head is that every time I speak, James doesn't listen.
Yeah.
The kids, another perfect example. The kids in the group class. If you guys never listen, is that accurate?
No, because they do listen.
They're probably listening to you right then in that moment.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
Yeah. So binary language, that's another thing to be aware of. It creates this, the reason it's called binary language is it creates a reality that is not accurate. It creates you're always never doing something versus sometimes. You know what? Sometimes you don't listen to me. I often don't like how I'm showing up, whatever. So sometimes, often, occasionally, these would be ways that we can go. And the reason it's important is its accuracy. What's more accurate, that you never listen to me or you sometimes don't listen to me?
It'd be on the sometimes for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We're likely going to have a better relationship personally and professionally if I acknowledge that sometimes you don't listen to me. Rather than you never listen to me. Because if I'm being honest and accurate, sometimes I don't listen to you.
Right.
It's the way. Binary language, check out for that. Watch yourself saying, you always do XYZ. You never do XYZ. Every time I come home and there's dirty dishes in the sink. Really? Every time? Every day? But the story in your imagination is that every day I come home, I have to do dishes now.
Yeah.
The other one is pressure language, which we started to touch on a little bit with the should. So should, need to, have to, got to, right? They apply pressure to us, right? Yeah, I should start going to the gym more. I need to get to the grocery store. They create that psychological and unconscious pressure through the use of our language, where we can say something like, I want to, I get to, right? It's changing the have tos to get tos.
Yeah.
I have to go to my kid's game. I have to go to work. The reality is, no, you do not.
Yeah, you really don't.
You don't have to do any of that.
No, yeah.
You choose to. You get to.
Yeah. That's a big one even now is it also changes your enthusiasm about things. When you say I get to, it's much more approachable, much more enjoyable where, yeah, I have to do this. Yeah, I have to do this. Okay, yeah, you have to do it. Okay, so you're sitting there just bogging yourself down. You start to look at things, I get to do this because that's the reality of it. You get to do it. Like some people, even if you want to compare it to other people, some people don't get to do what you're doing. So it's a blessing in itself. So even if you look at it that way, but the get to just brings up a whole different like environment to the concept rather than like the bringing it down, making it a horrible thing, making it another thing you have to do. So yeah, I like that. I like using that a lot. I use it myself.
If you're listening to this podcast in 2022, 2023, whatever year you decide to listen to this in, it's highly unlikely that there are many things that you have to do. And it's more likely that there are a lot of things that you are choosing to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
So use your language to accurately represent your state, right? I choose to. Even if I get to doesn't feel good to you, right? You're like, I'm not quite there. Like I get to go to work.
Right.
You choose to go to work.
Yeah.
At least then you're acknowledging your authority. You're acknowledging your choice.
Yeah. No, absolutely. That's big.
So that's pressure language, binary language, a little nutshell on the pillars of conflict and architect language. One more time to revisit. The conflict language is going to be soft talk, negations, and projections. The flip side of those coins are going to be solid talk, affirmations, and reflections. Two other subcategories of conflict language are going to be binary language, the always, never, every day, and then pressure language, have to, get to, should.
Yeah. So that takes us into like, now we've talked a lot about words. Words. They're powerful. We're starting to get that idea. But what words do is they do so much more. And we've already touched on a couple times. They create stories.
Yep.
So that's now the land we're starting to head into.
That's why words are so important. It's not the word itself, right? It's the story that is attached to the word that we create in our imagination. So we have something called the 4-step storywork process. We'll breeze through it really quickly because this can be a very in-depth process.
Oh, absolutely.
The one note that I will give you on this is we can use this process one of two ways. One way, and the most commonly used way, is to what we call get out of the stuck. Right? So if you find yourself in a bad mood, you find yourself stuck in something, there's something that you can't let go. It's likely that there's a story there. There's a story that's running around in your head. And the problem with it running around in your head is it's infinite. It's vast. It's all encompassing. What we want to do with that story is we want to write it down. We want to provide it with a beginning, a middle, and an end so that we can see this thing that was huge and unmeasurable and just running around in my head can actually fit on 1, 2, 3 sheets of paper. It has an ending. Like a movie, you want to title it. You want to title this memory, right? So whatever the stuck is, and it can truly be anything. It can be something from when you were 5 years old that you're still hanging on to. It can be something that happened just last week. Most likely the thing that happened just last week is tied to something that happened further back. But if you don't have access to that, you can start with the thing that happened just last week. So give it the title it like a movie. And then when you're writing this story out, write it conversationally. This is the difference between story work and journaling. Right, so when you do journaling, most of the time you write about how you feel about how something happened. Story work says, if somebody were to pick this up, they would be able to follow the story. It's like reading a book.
Okay, so that's what you mean by conversationally. Is like
write it out, yes,
like a book style.
Write it out conversationally. So if somebody else were to pick up this story, the Book of James, they would understand what happened in this experience to you, right? I walked into the kitchen. I picked up the knife. I dropped it on my toe. Okay. I almost cut my foot off. Now I'm forever scared of knives.
Makes sense.
So we give it a title, and so the title of that could be The Knife Show, whatever. Give it a title, something that resonates with you in the story. Write the story out conversationally. That's step number one. The whole idea is that we take it from right here in the middle of our face because it's running around in the story, and we get just a little bit of space from it. This could be, a very difficult story. It could be emotionally charged. Go wherever you're comfortable going. Step one, write it. Step two, read that story out loud. Okay. Read it. So we've got it on paper. I see it's got a beginning, a middle, and an end, and I'm going to read it. That's step two. Simple. Now, likely what happens the first time that you read it, the more emotionally charged this story is, the more possible that this is that it happens, is that you may have an emotional response to the story. So your breathing may come up. You might feel anxious or scared. You might even cry. You could feel, if it's a good story, you could feel happy. Most of the time people use this to get out of stuck. So it's a little bit more difficult. There's things that can happen associated with the story.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we read it. Go at whatever pace you're comfortable with. You've gotten just a little bit more space because now it's from out here. I've verbalized it, right? It's out here onto paper. Got it here. I've verbalized it. It's out here. Step three is that we read the story at 70% speed. So I went into the kitchen. I grabbed the knife from the counter. I dropped the knife on my toe. Versus, I went into the kitchen. I got the knife off the counter. I dropped it on my toe. We want to slow down. We slow down. It allows us to think. Gives us a little bit more space. The last step, step 4, is that we add the breath. So we add what's called a parasympathetic breath, like we talked about earlier, the low and slow, loud inhale, long exhale. So I went into the kitchen. I grabbed the knife off the counter. I dropped the knife onto my toe. We've got even more space. We've gone through all 4 steps. So anywhere that you notice a period or a comma, like a run-on sentence, you want to add a dash and add that breath. Okay. The whole purpose is now I've taken the story from right here in my head, all in my face, to out here. I've gotten space. I'm able to think logically about it, right? If we go back to the purpose of the breath, that parasympathetic breath turns on the prefrontal cortex, gets us to rest, digest, also gets us to think logically versus react. So now I have some space here. And once I have space, I have options. Where when the story's right here, in my head and in my face, my only choice, binary language acknowledged, is to fight it or run from it.
Okay.
Once I have some space, there's something I can do about it, right? So now I can decide, what does this mean about me? Right? I've got a little bit of space. Maybe the old story about dropping the knife on the toe meant that I was stupid. Maybe the new story, now that I have some space, means I was a kid. Kids do things.
Oh, yeah.
So now the identity that I had cultivated around a simple story was that I'm stupid. Because when I was a kid, I didn't listen to my mom. I grabbed a knife off a counter, ended up dropping it on my toe, almost cutting my toe off. Now it's like, oh, I was a kid who didn't listen to one thing that my mom told me. What did I learn from that experience? Well, I learned that actions have consequences. I could have learned that things could go wrong, and sometimes they don't go as bad as they could, right? So I learned that there's grace in difficult circumstances, right? I learned that maybe I should listen to my mom more frequently. Right?
It's always good to listen to your mama.
So now the story used to be, I'm stupid, I'm a bad kid, to I made a bad decision, right? And I'm resilient. Which identity would you rather live into?
100% the second one.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't want to be every day like, I'm stupid. It's like, it's just going to tear at you every day.
Yep. And that's what happens to a lot of people, right? Is the stories running around in their heads are composed of words, and the words tell us who we are. They tell you who to believe that you are in space.
Right.
Right? Your beliefs affect the behavior, because once you believe something, you're more likely to engage in behavior that reaffirms that belief. So you do the thing that you think you should do based on the belief that you hold, and then you create the identity. I am the type of person that. Why am I the type of person that does this? Because of the behaviors that I've enacted in, the evidence that I've created that says I am this type of person. That evidence comes from the belief that you held that was tied to a story that started as a word. Exactly.
One big circle.
Big circle. So the "you're stupid" example, right? We can also use that as going back to kids, because kids seem to be really great examples of this.
Oh yeah, easily.
If you tell a kid one time that he's stupid, it's likely that they might have hurt feelings about it, but they'll brush it off. Most likely. Now, if I tell that same kid that he or she is stupid every single day for a year, it is much more likely that they cultivate the belief, enact the behaviors, and cultivate the identity, create the identity that they are stupid. Right? How did it start? It started with a single word. So we used our word to influence our identity in that example.
Right.
We do the same. We as adults do the same thing.
Wow, it's crazy.
There's so many people that are still stuck with stories that, these cornerstone moments, these things that happen in our lives. And we hold on to the identity that we had created then. We seek and find more evidence with it, right? So there's the "I'm stupid" example. You tell a little kid every day for a year that he's stupid. As he's an adult, he believes that he is stupid. He or she believes he is stupid. There's another word that has been used a lot lately called victim. Right? Why I believe that these stories and taking control of these stories are important is because they set up the type of person that you are in your own imagination. Are you the hero of the story, or are you the victim? There's a villain as well. Most people, most of the time, see themselves as a victim, consciously or unconsciously, and I'll tell you why. So there's a difference between being a victim of something objectively. So victim as a noun, right? Everyone, I would imagine, at some point in their life has been the victim of the actions of someone or something else, right? Objectively, you could say that the deer running out in front of the car makes your vehicle the victim of the actions of the deer.
Yeah, right.
Objective. Got it. You are the victim as a noun. Victim as a verb sets you up as the identity. It creates, now you are the subject. You are the experience, rather than a person that something happened to. That is who you are. So this ties into something called the victim mentality. So what the victim mentality is the victim mentality is an acquired personality trait in which a person tends to regard himself or herself as the victim of the negative actions of others, even in the absence of clear evidence. The victim mentality depends on a habitual thought process and attributions. So that last sentence is really important. It's habitual, means it happens frequently. It's a habit. It's something that you do over and over and over. Habitual thought processes. I'm thinking about it every day. I'm creating myself. I'm positioning myself as a victim. Okay. I'm giving the responsibility to someone or something outside of myself for who I am and who I have to be. Even in the absence of clear evidence. So your brain's going to seek and find, right? If it cannot find things that fit neatly, it will start to look for things that maybe don't fit, but it wants to morph that could. So, example, I'm driving down the road, and I'm sure people who are listening to this have experienced this. We're driving down the road. We don't look into our blind spot, or we look and just look in the mirror. Mm-hmm. We go to get over, and there's somebody in your blind spot, and you get mad at them.
Wait a second. This is deja vu.
So you getting mad at that person, like, what are you doing in my blind spot?
Right.
Creates a he or she was in my blind spot. If that story creates the further story that this person's sole objective of the day was to wake up at just the right time, get on the highway at the exact moment, know your schedule in detail, make sure that they were going just the right speed to get in just the right spot, which would be your blind spot at just the right moment in time and space, so that when you wanted to get over, they were there.
Very devious person.
It creates them as the villain, right, and you as the victim, even in the absence of clear evidence. They did that to me. What you don't have is you don't have any ownership or authority. Oh yeah, I got in the car. I was driving down the highway. I did not look into my blind spot. It just creates the dichotomy of villain, James, or person driving a car, victim, me. Mm-hmm. Why this is so pervasive, I'll give you a story. Okay. So I was in 9th grade. I was dating a girl. A lot of my stories seem to revolve around girls.
Girls, man, they cause problems.
Watch out for girls. Yeah, watch out for girls. So I was dating this girl, who this was my first real girlfriend.
Okay.
I didn't kiss a girl until 9th grade.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And this was the girl.
Okay.
So we're dating, and she starts talking to another guy, or another guy starts talking to her. Exactly. Right. So I'm about as big around as I am tall at this point in time. I haven't quite hit my growth spurt yet.
Right.
But I'm full of this, like, who I think that I need to be. I'm full of this, like, arrogance and cockiness, and I got to stand up for myself. This is my shot, right? I can't be a freshman getting taken away by an upperclassman. So, a couple weeks, I'll end up cultivating in a moment where this kid and I meet in the hallway. I turn away to look at a friend, and then I wake up in the principal's office with my hand over my face in front of a mirror. I pull it down, and I see I have a quarter-size hole in my cheek. I have a tooth that's out of my face.
Sweet.
Yeah. So what had happened was, when I turned away, I turned back into a punch.
Oh, all right.
Yeah. Don't remember any of it.
Right.
But the story that came along with that was, he did this to me. I positioned myself as the victim of a villain. What that did was it took away all of the ownership and authority for, I went looking for the fight. I talked shit to the guy. I really went and found him. Mm. I took my eye off of him. Right? I showed up. I talked shit. I did all of the things that made me an active participant in the outcome.
Yeah.
Just because it didn't go my way, does not make him a villain and me a victim.
Yeah.
But the story was, he did this to me. If that's the story, there's nothing that I have to do about it. There's nothing that I can do about it.
Right.
That changed the way that I interacted for the next handful of years, right? Because then I had a chip on my shoulder. Then I let that story tell me that I needed to show up arrogantly. I needed to show up overconfident. I needed to show up as this type of person so that that never happened to me again. And that type of person was not the type of person that I wanted to be. I was a dick. I showed up as a dick.
Right. Just that guy who's like, nah, man, I ain't taking shit.
Yep, exactly. That's how I decided to show up based on my experience. So I had cultivated a story. I had cultivated a story, belief, behavior, identity, all wrapped around, he did that to me, all wrapped around the words. This is why the victim mentality can be so pervasive. Because if you do not consider yourself the hero, you either consider yourself the victim or the villain. When given the opportunity,
most are going to identify as that victim.
Yes. And why not choose to be? I mean, you have a choice.
Right.
That's what these tools give you, is they give you back the power. They give you back the choice. You are who you say you are. If that is true, and if we know that that is true, why not write a better story? Negation acknowledged. Most people see the problems that they have, right? So this would be another fun language game that we can cultivate. You've gotten a lot of people listening to this have gotten a lot of tools and a lot of information.
Yeah, absolutely.
So far. So let's make it really practical.
Okay.
I want you, everybody listening, and you, James, you can do this too.
Let's do it.
Write down one problem statement. So I have a problem with ... It could be a person. It could be a behavior. It could be, something that you do. I have a problem getting up in the morning. I have a problem getting enough vegetables. I have a problem with Cody.
Okay. Ooh, I got one. I have a problem with credit cards.
Credit cards.
Yeah, I figured it's a nice, easy one to apply to everyone.
Yeah, so I have a problem with credit cards. What does that story position you as?
Oh, victim.
Positions you as the victim of credit cards, right? There's nothing that you can do about it. I got a problem with them. We're going to, again, change the words.
Okay.
So I want you to change the word problem to opportunity.
Okay.
So now I have an opportunity.
With credit cards.
How does that change the feels for you?
They don't seem as villainous now. They seem much more like I have an opportunity with credit cards. Like they can be utilized as a tool, as a good thing, not so much as a baggage or a very, very, very heavy thing on the mind.
So there's something you can learn now.
Yeah.
Sweet. We changed one word, changed problem to opportunity. We changed it from credit cards are the bad guy, they're the villain, they're the thing that I can't get over, to, you know what, there's an opportunity here. There's something that I can do about this. There's possibility. We're going to add in the word golden in front of the word opportunity. Just to supercharge it, to add a little more punch.
I like it.
And then I'll have you read that statement out loud.
I have a golden opportunity with credit cards.
So there was an interesting inflection there, right? A golden opportunity.
I like it. Rings.
What changed for you?
In that instance, the golden opportunity added like a lot more like flame to it. Like now I'm like, okay, yeah, there's a window here. We're gonna make some things happen. We're gonna make things change. We're gonna do good. We're gonna grow from this.
Awesome. Write out all of your problem statements. I have a problem with eating well. I have a problem showing up I have a problem with consistency. I have a problem with my mom. Whatever it is. Change the word problem to opportunity. Now we are no longer the victim. We have possibility. If we have possibility, we can do something about it. If we can do something about it, alter the course, we can become the hero. We've taken ourselves from that victim mentality, or the victim as a verb, right? And we've acknowledged, you know what, maybe your mom and you had a falling out. Maybe there's bad blood in the relationship. Maybe. Some of it her fault, some of it your fault. You've taken ownership of it. Now here's your opportunity. Forget that. Here's your golden opportunity.
I like the word golden.
Golden. It changes
Yeah,
it.
it does. It really does.
Gives it a little humph.
Yeah, I like that. Golden opportunity.
So that's a really easy way for you another easy way for people to start to use their language for them, start to reframe the way that they are speaking.
Yeah.
If we can start to change, and we'll cap this off with a couple of things. One, awareness is the first step.
Yeah, it's big. Like, a lot of the stuff that we've talked about is stuff I've started to actually implement in my like overall daily life. And it does, like, the awareness makes a big difference, because there's some stuff like mentally compared to where I was last year before I learned all this stuff, I feel 1,000 times better. I was always down on myself. Now I'm like, oh, I have a golden opportunity. Like, things do change a lot better. Like, they feel a lot better.
Want something different, do something different. Right? It's when we all learn how to drive cars, they tell us, look where you want to go because you're probably going to go there. Rather than, so look for the things that you do want. Where are your opportunities? What are the things that you do want? Can you speak about them solidly, right? How do you have ownership of them? Go back, listen to this a couple of times. Start to identify awareness. All right, here's where I'm doing it. And start with yourself. Start with you.
Yeah. Don't just start attacking your friends and family and coworkers.
Hey, you said maybe.
Yeah, right. Like, whoa.
If your family's on board with it, we did a workshop a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And one of the questions at the end was, how can I implement this with my family? Because the whole family was here. All right, now that you all have the same knowledge, set rules.
Yeah.
Set rules for the game. Because binary language acknowledged, the only time we create conflict is when we are playing a game with undefined rules. We're playing games all the time.
Right.
But if I'm playing the game by one set of rules and you don't understand those rules, right? If we come to the board and it looks like checkers, but I want to play chess, you're going to be like, what the F, man? This doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of
Why are you attacking me?
Yeah.
So we create conflict.
Yeah.
So establish the rules. If you want to do this with your family, be like, hey, I'm going to take an active role in eliminating soft talk from my language. So if you hear me use soft talk, please bring it to my attention, and I will do the same for you. We've established rules of the game. Now we won't have conflict, or as much conflict about it. The final thing that we can do with this to really make it hit home is we're going to cap this off with something called the Soft Talk Challenge. All right. So the very last thing, this would be something for everyone to take home. We are going to take those soft talk, because soft talk's the easiest of the conflict language to wrap our head around. We're going to take those soft talk keywords or setup words, and we're going to write them down on a piece of paper 5 times larger than you would normally write. Why 5 times larger? Because we want pattern interruption. So soft talk keywords like maybe, one day, perhaps, probably, possibly, kind of, sort of, would like to, think, guess, hopefully, should, could, soon, and might. You're going to take that piece of paper and you're going to tape it up somewhere that you will see it every day for the next 7 days.
Yep. And those that are watching, just kind of give you a little bit of example, soft talk knowledge there, is you can see how it's just structured a little bit bigger. Don't mind the sloppy handwriting, but that's the idea behind it.
Write those words 5 times larger than normal. pin them up, bathroom mirror, refrigerator, next to your computer at your desk, somewhere you're going to see it every single day. Awareness is the first step. For the next 7 days, what I imagine you will notice is you will notice these words more frequently in the things that you say, the things that you write, and systematically begin to eliminate them from your lexicon.
Oh yeah, easily. Like I said, this is something I've gone over. I mean, I've heard about it, we've talked about it, been about it for a while now. And even now I see it everywhere. I will listen to podcasts, or I'll listen to public speakers, or I'll listen to this person. So I'm like, I can just hear it. It's the one word. It's like, I hear them. They just pop in my head every time.
And the benefit for you is more clarity, better understanding, which cultivates better relationships. Right? I know very few people who are like, yeah, I'd love to systematically make my relationship worse.
I want to take it all.
Yeah. Soft talk is one of the fastest ways that you can begin to do that because it creates ambiguity and uncertainty. Removing that will provide more clarity and accuracy, which improves communication.
Yeah.
That's the soft talk challenge. That's do it, take it, pin it up,
run with it.
Run with it.
Yeah.
The last thing with that too is with all of the information that we've learned today, this happens for me. Once I take in new information, I want to share it with everyone. Right. So we learn, here's the process of learning, right? We retain 30% of what we hear, 50% of what we write, and 80% of what we teach. So I encourage you to take this and teach this to people. Now know that there should be some tact with it. You have all this new information. It can be very easy to be the soft talk Nazi. Like, I heard you say should. You don't say should. Give them grace. Give grace to yourself. Give grace to other people.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, no, there's overall a lot of information that was talked about in today's episode and in this overall podcast. With that being said, first and foremost, the big challenge to take away is start your soft talk challenge. Write it down, get it posted up, work that first step. Again, highly recommend listening to this once, twice, a couple of times. There's a lot of information. There's a lot of good takeaways here. But with that also being said, if you do have questions or you want more information or you want to dive into a little bit deeper, don't be afraid to reach out to Cody. He will gladly talk about this stuff. He does enjoy it a lot. It's something he's become very passionate about. So
rather than don't be afraid to, do reach out to.
Oh, I was going to say be afraid. So do reach out to Cody though. He will gladly talk about this stuff and give you more insight as well as work it with you. Other than that, thanks for tuning in today's episode, wherever you're tuning in from. Don't forget to follow, leave a like, and we'll see you guys on the next episode.